So for this class, I'm going to do an overview of the book of Numbers. In particular, it's one of my favorite books when you look at the Pentateuch. So in the wilderness is basically what Numbers translates to. And it's this period of time, it's a log that really records the travels of the Israelites from exile and then right before they enter the promised land. The interesting thing to note here is that on foot, this journey should normally take around 2 weeks. However, for the Israelites, that is not the case, and it ends up taking them close to 40 years. In a brief overview of the book or the design, you can see that Numbers is actually separated into 5 sections. 3 of these sections are about the different points that they stop at, with 2 sections in between that are a link between, and that's the period of travel. The first section, pretty much where we start, happens about 1 year in. So this takes place for about a year, and this is where Israel makes a covenant with God, and God honors them. This is when we also see the 10 Commandments. This is also when the tabernacle is built. This is when the tribes of Israel are organized by section, and they're also told to follow the cloud and the fire. And the cool thing is, when they travel, actually the Ark of the Covenant will be in the front, then the Levites, and then Judah, and then everyone else is organized thereon after. And so all of this, mainly the organization of the Israelites, happens at Mount Sinai. So the next period of travel, it's this travel from Sinai to Paran. And the cool thing about this travel is it actually starts with a lot of enthusiasm. The people are actually excited to go on this journey. They've made their covenant with God. They've been organized, and they're ready for this next part of the journey. However, on this journey, you will see the people start to complain, either from a lack of food, they're tired, or a lot of the basic necessities that would make us tired on a road trip. They start to complain about these things. And more than that, you'll see that Moses, his siblings, and Aaron and his sisters start to complain about him, and they're starting to question a little bit about the authority that God had given Moses on this journey. This leads us to a little bit of a difficult point now. So now we are arrive in Paran. And you can see this taking place from chapters 13 to 19. And so they came out of this complaining period. They're now in Paran. And this is when Moses sends out 12 spies into the promised land. You can remember Joshua and Caleb coming super excited, and they're like, yes, we can go do this. Let's see the milk and honey. We can do this. However, that being said, the sad part and the tragedy is the other 10 then say to hold back, but there are giants in the land. And so this leads a generation to now wander for 40 years as a punishment for them not trusting God to go ahead and enter the promised land. And so instead, God promises the next generation that they will be the ones to enter the promised land. But you see, God remains faithful. That's the thing that we learn right here in Paran. God will remain faithful to us when we remain faithful to Him. However, He also will honor our choice. God chose to honor the choice of the older generation in the fact that they did not trust Him, and therefore they did not enter the promised land. Now for traveling point number 2, this is really where we see a time of rebellion. This is when Moses strikes the rock. We then see the poisonous snakes that come, and you can see that through every single one of these points of rebellion, God still promises to make a way, and He still provides for them. He gives them manna. He makes a way with the snake. When they look upon the brass snake, that they'll be healed. God, even though these people are in rebellion, God still loves them. And we see this really come to fruition in Moab. This is from chapters 22 to 36. And this is the point where all things come to a head in Numbers. You see, the king of Moab tried to get Balaam to say curses over them, but instead, when Balaam came to before God, all he got were blessings. So even though the Israelites went through a time of difficulty, they were still blessed. And through this, a new census is taken, a blessing of a king who is going to come, the king of them all. And then you see that Moses says his last words, and that this leads to the end of the book and to Deuteronomy.